Welcome to Shining the Light. My name is S.E. Walliwa, and my guest today is one and the only, Tim Ohai. How are you, my brother? How you been? I really don't want to, butcher your bio. I know you are at Workday, Global Director, Sales Enablement. I know you, Ubuntu Mission, which you're going to be talking about. Very, I like that Ubuntu Mission. I can't wait for you to tell us more about it. I know you were at Agility. I know you were at Growth and Associate. So please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Well, so the first thing you got to know, I'm originally from Hawaii. So as we say back home, I'm a keiki o ka aina.
Yeah.
A child of the land. So it's funny, if you were to ask me if I were to grow up as a kid in a small village in the islands, I'm going to be corporate and running a charity in Africa and looking at going into Jamaica and all these other things. No, never in a million years. No way. I'm still, and to a degree, I'm still that kid from the islands. I can lose my proper English accent pretty quickly. I promise you. I promise you.
So growing up in Hawaii, you went to school in Hawaii, right?
Yeah. And then I moved to for the mainland. I went to university. And then I went back to Hawaii. And then actually I started out as a school teacher. And did that for 5 years. I met my lovely wife. And then she became pregnant with our son. He was born. And then it was a tough one. Do I raise a family on a teacher's salary, or do I look at something else? And she and I both prayed about it and just felt led. Let's move to California. Not my first choice, I promise you, but it's been an excellent choice. Wound up going corporate, and then have been on the mainland since 2000, and now I was sitting here in Northern California, but people ask where's home. Home will always still be Hawaii.
Wow.
My son, I've sent my son back there right now to be in my village because he needs that time. He's 21. He needs that time in the village with the family, with the connections, and to just have his time. And my daughter will have her time someday soon.
Is it like a village?
It's gotten bigger. Now, when I was growing up, we had one stoplight, and it was brand new. And even though now it's grown, but it's still everybody knows everybody.
Wow.
We still have, we talk about coconut wireless, right?
Yeah.
It's you talk to the aunties and the uncles, and you know what's going on, eh? You run
right.
Let's go talk to people. Yeah.
Right. When you're talking about sending your son, I remember when I used to live in the Bay Area, I was part of this Ethiopian community. So after high school or around high school, they would send their kids back to Ethiopia. Talking about those who are in the diaspora, right? He was like, you guys gotta go and really, learn. And
you got to know where you come from to know where you're going, right?
Right.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So how have you been dealing with the pandemic, Tim?
Well, multiple levels. I mean, so obviously it's been rough just on our own family and whatnot. I'll get real honest real quickly. My wife passed away last year in the middle of the pandemic. She had a battle with leukemia. It came back, and trying to deal with checking her into the hospital and not being allowed to go inside, not being allowed to go visit, I would go stand outside of her window and try to just be next to her through the window. I mean, it's just weird. So we went through that, and then unfortunately she passed away. But at that point, the hospital was allowing us in. Me and her mother were the only two people allowed to come visit. So it was tough. And then you broaden to what our neighbors, our communities have gone through. I have so many friends who have lost family members to COVID, both here and also in South Africa. People that I know that I'm just like, it's brutal. And then you look at the economic impact. I do a lot of business interactions in Europe, and Europe's been hammered. Europe's economic state right now is, you have to go back to right behind after World War II. So you look at the impact of that, and global poverty, people were working hard to get out of that, and now it's going backwards. And I look at what we're doing in South Africa, well, Southern Africa and Ghana, and now looking at potentially Kenya, Tanzania. Everybody's fighting all kinds of extra battles. It's not just the sickness, yeah.
Hopefully, things will get better, right? So
It will.
yeah,
You have to believe that, right?
yeah,
The wheel is round, eh?
yeah,
We forget. This is why we need our elders, because they remind us. Oh yeah,
right,
listen, in your life, it wasn't this bad, but when I was young, it was.
yeah,
And they remind us that okay, we can get through this. We just have to, as we say in Hawaii, you just have to keep paddling. Just have to keep paddling.
So faith has been strengthening you.
100%. It's the only way to get through it, as far as I'm concerned. There's when you lose the love of your life, the mother of your children, when you go through the valley of the shadow of death, you got to know someone's with you.
Yeah. Well, we're coming to see you, Tim. Let's transition a little bit.
Yeah.
So you studied in sales. I want to know how you studied in sales. I want to know about all this enablement thing.
It's funny. I never intended to be in sales at all.
Right.
They say that most people, up to half of university graduates will wind up at some point in sales. It just happens. It was one of those things. I started out as a school teacher, right? And then I moved to the mainland, and I got a job working as a sales coordinator in one of the local offices for a company in Northern California in the Bay Area, and then worked my way into very heavy involved with sales operations, and then back into sales training. And then eventually I left and went out on my own. It was one of those deals where it was one of those, I talk to people about sales. I train on sales. I need to just go do it. And so for 12 years, I ran my own company, did my own sales. And it's a mystery. It's funny. My very, very first client that I had set up for my business died. Literally got cancer, prostate cancer, lovely human being. And it hit him so fast, so hard. He was gone in 2 months. And I had everything lined up, and I was like, unbelievable. And then that customer passed away, and his CEO was like, Tim, we can't even find all the passwords to all the accounts. We can't work with you. So then I was like, wow. So I'm sitting and I'm waiting, and I nothing's coming, and I'm like, oh, this is bad. I'm talking to people, I'm calling people, I'm trying to get, nothing's happening. And then my auntie calls. And she has a very simple word. She just says, do you trust God? I said, yeah, I trust God. No. Do you trust God? I have to think about it. I'm like, yeah, I trust God. And then she says, good. Now trust God. And click, hung up the phone. And to be honest, how I got into sales was following my faith and just saying, I'm going to step out of the boat and go into the unknown. And then within a week, I got a phone call from what became my very first customer. And that first customer was Walmart. Walmart calls me and says, hey, we've heard about you. We know you're on your own now. Would you be interested in talking to us about helping? And it turned into a massive contract and a beautiful relationship working with Walmart corporate. And very few entrepreneurs can say their first customer was Walmart. But that's where my faith took me. Yeah.
Wow, that's trusting in God.
It's one way or the other. And if you're listening and you're wondering whether or not you can trust God, I'm telling you, man, it works.
Right.
And I can give story after story after story, but you step that aside and step back into the natural. So what I do is I took that career in sales and I built a consulting practice around. Now it's called sales enablement. But the easiest way to describe it is you take.
Please.
People need to be successful in selling, and you can't just show up and sell. For you to be successful, if you're an entrepreneur or you're a salesperson in general, or you're leading salespeople, everybody needs good content. What are you going to talk about? What are you going to say? Everybody needs good tools, technology, presentations, all of those things. And then everybody needs the behaviors to pull it all together.
Right.
And what I do now is I architect solutions for Workday that integrate content, tools, and behaviors. And My friend Roderick Jefferson talks about hub and spoke. I love the analogy. You're kind
Uh-huh.
of at the center of all this different energy, and you're pulling it together and hooking it together
Uh-huh.
so it becomes something meaningful for people to use. So in business, making money is the key, right? There's a lot
Right.
of people who work hard, but they're not making money. And you can't just put somebody and give them a sales job and give them a phone and say, go sell. It's not that simple.
Wow. Well, now that you sort of kind of define, sales enablement to us, how is it related to scalability?
So think about
Yeah.
this. If you're, and so this is, let's go back to what we do in South Africa, right? So we
Right.
do a lot with small businesses, and
Mm.
most people struggle. They might have themselves, and then they
Mm.
might have even their family working with them, and they'll struggle to get past one or two employees.
Right.
And there's a couple of barriers to that. And I'll get into that in a second. But when you make money, when you sell, when you turn your revenue on, you can then scale your business. But it's very difficult to scale without money. But it's not just about money. It's one of our graduates will say, one of the biggest lessons he learned from Ubuntu was that I don't need money. I need customers.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Right.
Everybody wants money. I'm going, money. I've seen a lot of businesses fail with money,
Uh-huh.
but you don't fail with customers.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. So what kind of skills do you really need to become like a real, professional enabler? you know.
Couple things. One, you absolutely have to know how business runs, and more importantly, you have to know how customers work, because that's the essence of sales and marketing. But if you want to make money, you got to know how to solve problems for people. So if you don't know how people want their problem solved, you don't understand business. We run into this all the time. We run into entrepreneurs who want to be entrepreneurs.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Okay.
So we see this with people who know how to bake delicious cakes, or people who know how to fix cars.
Right.
And that is not necessarily what people are buying. They're not buying necessarily cakes, and they're not buying fixed cars. What they're buying is reliability or something similar. They're buying value. So if you don't understand how people think around what they're buying, it's very hard to turn that into money as a business. So sales enablement takes that truth, that principle, and says, how can I help you as a sales professional become part of that conversation through content, tools, and behaviors? So if you have a background in education, that helps. Education's only going to help you with teaching people. But the reality is you got to know how the business works. And so the number one most important skill is problem solving. Do you know how to figure out and define what the problem is, and then define what the solution is? You can't just walk in the door with solutions. You got to make sure the solution fits the problem. Do you
Wow.
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah.
So please talk about, how you guys are using maybe machine learning.
Okay.
How do you guys involve like technology, machine learning? Because I believe that data
Yeah.
is very important, right? You have to understand some of these things, looking at data, right?
So there's a couple things I'll pull out. So right off the bat, let's be clear about what machine learning. There's a lot of people talk about AI.
Okay.
I have so many people calling me, emailing me, Tim, we have an AI solution, and I'm like, really? You really have an artificial intelligence?
Right.
Artificial intelligence is like crazy complex.
Right.
And the way I describe artificial intelligence is, artificial intelligence has a long way still to go. Artificial intelligence, if it's truly intelligence, means you turn it on and it will play the chess game and it will beat you. It is intelligent enough to beat you at playing chess. Or you turn it on and it will drive the car home for you. It will do its own thinking while you drive the car. And you can take your hands off the wheel and the car will drive itself home. But we have a long ways to go to have a car that will beat you at playing chess while it's driving you home.
Okay.
Right? You understand?
Right.
So people say artificial intelligence, it's going to happen, but it's a long ways off before we have a machine that truly thinks fully like a human being and all the things that we do. And even then, it will only do certain parts of what we do.
Right.
In the space between that future and today, we have machine learning. So machine learning is the technology that automates processes. It says if A then B, if C then D, and it works through, and machine learning learns the patterns you take and starts to push toward you recommendations based on the patterns that are built into it. It's not actually thinking, it's just running through the checklist really fast.
Right.
And it says, oh, you keep clicking on kitchen appliances on Amazon. So machine learning will then learn you want to see kitchen appliances at the top of your Amazon.
Okay.
Right. But it's not following you around and going, hey, Sonny, you need a coffee maker. Trust me. I know. Right. So Workday has built machine learning into how our tools operate. So when we're looking at people having requests for time off, we're looking at people having skill gaps and they want to get better at their job. Machine learning will say, you're going to have a lot of people requesting timing off come off based on the last couple of years of data, or you have a need to send people to training because a number of people have these gaps. Or it gets more sophisticated. So when we work with companies like Walmart and they're trying to plan holiday staffing levels, it brings in big data and says, based on that big data, here's the recommendation. But it's not thinking by itself. It's just running through the checklist really fast and helping you make a quick decision. Does that
Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah. Trust me. When I joined Workday, I'm like, you're gonna have to break it down for me because I'm old. I've got one in my beard. I'm used to playing Atari with two buttons. Come on.
Right. No. We get it. We get it. I think technology now. I think everybody now is there. People are beginning to really understand technology. At least to a certain degree, where they are able. Because I think we cannot run away from technology.
No. Yeah.
So I think we should
democratize. It will become available. I know in specifically a lot of the discussions I'm at in Africa.
Yeah,
it's about we need data. The prices on data have to go down because the telecom providers charge so much money for people to have data. Mm-hmm. And once that democratizes, all of this stuff becomes available through their phone or their home computer, and that is going to be a different world. Right.
So what do you think about that? I'm gonna go off a little bit. What do you think about what your one of our homeboys from South Africa, Elon Musk, is doing as far as some of this outrageous technology that he has? Let's say, for example, the Neuralink that he has, where he implants like maybe a little chip on somebody's brain so that he can tap into his neurons to be able to cooperate with computers. Your thought on that? I mean, maybe my question is, how far can we trust?
I know. So let me back up. So one of the biggest mistakes that we have ever taught is that the mind, the brain, is a supercomputer.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's bad. That's wrong.
That's wrong. Okay.
The mind is not a supercomputer, a machine that then feels. We are feeling organisms. We're feeling beings that think. So right off the bat, technology that only helps us think isn't replacing the brain. It's actually, it could help, maybe, and I'm not against technology, but it will never replace our emotional need. And that's because I believe we are made for connection, made to feel connection with each other, that we need each other. We need human to human. And I mean the whole rainbow, right? Black, brown, white, purple, everybody together. We're made for that connection. And from that connection, we then have thought. Now, if technology is able to tap into our connection and to help us with our connection, that's good. But if technology gets in the way of that connection and it forces separation, that's bad. So look, for example, the use of technology in social media. Is social media a good thing? Well, has it brought us closer together or has it ripped us apart? And if you watch some of the things on, like, the documentaries, like on Netflix, the social media, they talk about the reason they're doing this is not because they want you to feel better, but they want to monetize your privacy. They want all your data so they can sell it to someone else. So one said, if the service is free, then the thing being sold is you. Right?
Wow.
So the question is not, is technology bad? It's the use of technology.
What's the use of technology?
What's the use? What's the purpose? Is it to help us connect and to have stronger relationships and be connected the way we were intended to be from the very beginning? Or is it going to rip us apart?
Wow. That's powerful, team. That's powerful. So let's go back to sales a little bit. So in this world of technology, if I understand well, if I remember well, I think they were saying maybe 70% of sales is already been made, or people have made their decisions already at the maybe marketings,
through the decision. So that says that by the time people are contacting someone in sales, they're well past halfway making a decision. Yeah. Okay. So what do you want to know about that, or what do you want to talk about?
So technology has something to do with this.
Yes, the internet in particular.
The internet in particular.
Think about. Let's go back to the original. If I'm trying to solve a problem, and I can go onto my computer and type in my problem, and it tells me all the information I need to help me solve my problem, why do I need to talk to a salesperson? And then there are people working right now to create AI that will replace the salesperson. There is AI.
And that's exactly where I was going. Yes. Yeah.
And there's AI right now that exists that will look at you and everything you've ever posted on the internet. And it will analyze how you speak. It will analyze what you've responded on different social posts. It will look at everything, and then will create very quickly a profile of you. And it will write a letter to you using words that you will like. I've seen this technology. I've experienced it. It's actually pretty good. It's not 100% accurate, but it's pretty darn close. So now you have this idea of if I am online, that's the key. If I'm online and I'm looking, I'm searching, there is technology that will look for what I'm searching for, look at me, and connect the content of what needs to be said, the tools, the email, everything else, and then it will imitate the behaviors of a human being, and it will start that dialogue. But it still won't go all the way through to the action. I don't think it'll replace selling. What it will replace is a lot of what we call sales development reps, the SDRs, right? And it would, instead of me getting spammed, I will get these very tailored emails saying you should talk to us, and then I will be introduced to a human being. Because at the end of the day, if it's transactional, if I'm just buying my juice online, fine, click, send it to my house. But if I'm spending real money, I need to talk to a person because I'm designed for connection. And if I don't feel that connection with a human being, I'm not going to spend my money with you, right?
So we still need, salespeople to reach out.
You're going to need salespeople, but we're going to change how that works, and then you go into, we will probably, this is speculating, but we will have technology that will tell salespeople, hey, reach out to Sonny tomorrow, because today Sonny hit something up and he's now been doing enough. You should, and when you do, say this to him.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But it's all about what's online. It's all about what's, in terms of technology, what you have locked in online. If you're not online, you still have to knock on doors. You still have to introduce yourself.
You still have to introduce yourself. But is sales enablement, heavy at the marketing level or at the sales team level?
We're heavy at the sales team level. We pull in marketing input because they have content and messaging that we need to make sure the salespeople are able to articulate. But the reality is, especially what we're doing with complex B2B sales,
right.
you can't come up with just a generic marketing template that it resonates with everyone. Everyone is unique. Everyone has their own situation, their own context. The goal is to not just give the information. The goal is to create connection. So the salespeople still need to be able to take what marketing gives them, and they're going to have to create something on their own to fill the gap.
Wow. Okay. Tim, let's talk about the collaboration between sales managers and executives.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you talk about the collaboration, do you want to talk about the collaboration between sales leaders and executives internally or with customer executives? Which
internally. Yeah.
So now we're talking about leadership dynamics.
Exactly right in the leadership.
Okay. Okay. Well, so let's start with one idea here. What is good leadership?
When it comes to issues of leadership, I always prefer servant leadership. That's my motto. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
No, I believe that a great leader is the one who is actually part of the team. Also serving within the team.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. I think that's pretty much also transformative, because I think you can transform anything if you're not involved.
Yeah. So there's two things out. You said that I'm going to say the same thing. I'm just going to say it differently.
Right.
One, a great leader is someone who makes other people better.
Much better than what I just said.
Well, I've given this speech a couple times, but no, a great leader is someone who raises others up. That's one of the reasons why Ubuntu.
Right.
I'm a person through others. How I treat you defines who I am. So if I'm not raising you up and I'm only raising myself up, I'm not being a good leader. But you also use the word transform, and that's critical. So if the difference between a leader and a manager, a leader is going to transform. A manager is going to optimize. And I'm not saying leaders are good and managers are bad. You actually need both.
Right.
And there are people who have senior job titles as executives, and they're trying to optimize. They're not trying to transform. And then you have people who are manager in their job title, but they're trying to transform, not optimize. So let's take that now back into the question. Sales leader, sales manager, whatever, working with an executive leader, what's the goal? Are we trying to optimize or are we trying to transform? That's the first thing. Because if we don't agree, then everything else we do is not going to work. So if you as my boss want to transform the organization, you want me to help contribute to that transformation by making the people around me better and being a part of that transformation, and I don't have those skills, what is our relationship going to become? Tough. Now, if you want to transform and I know how to transform, now what happens? Right? Now the conversation comes to life. And a lot of times I see people struggle with their executive leaders, and I sit back and I go, well, are your executives, the people who are in charge, are they trying to transform or optimize? And that is usually where it's like, oh, wait a minute, I don't know. Then go talk.
Okay.
Go talk. Is your goal to optimize or to transform? And here's the test. If you're going to optimize, you're going to minimize disruption. If you're going to transform, you're going to invite disruption. And that leader, that executive's response to the word disruption will tell you everything you need to know. Because some leaders go, no, we want zero disruption. And even if they say the word transform, they don't want to transform. They only want to optimize. They want to stabilize. They want to put things into boxes and make it nice, clean rows. That's not transformation. That's optimization. If you say disrupt and they go, yes, we have to change. If that means we have to break some walls down, we break the walls down. We're going to transform this business or this organization or this country. It means disruption. And now you know what's your role. And then you can move, okay, so if I'm going to help transform, now, are you being empowered to make the people around you special? That's the second question. I understand the expectation. Now, are you empowering me to do it?
Right.
And that, again, there are a lot of leaders, very well-intentioned. I've worked with many companies. I mean, I'm at Workday now, but I spent 12 years on my own working across all over the place. And I saw this pattern consistently. Leaders would have a vision, but they weren't prepared to fully equip and empower their team to go fulfill it. And so the vision was stalling. It wasn't going forward. It wasn't happening. And yet people were inspired. Yeah, that's a great vision. But if you don't give them a plan and give them the resources to go execute against that vision, nothing will happen. And you'll just create more frustration on the back end.
Wow. I get it. So I just thought about something when you were saying this about empowering your employees, or your team. And I thought about a CEO or a leader who say, hey, let's say in a tech company, we are innovating. I want everybody to be free to innovate, to come with go and execute the ideas that you have. And let's see what you have.
Again, the innovation, are we looking for transformation, innovation that helps us transform, or are we looking for innovation that helps us stabilize and optimize? Right? So some companies are a total state of chaos. They need to optimize. They have made so much change and so much disruption that you're going to lose the connection with all the people. Let's go back to all the way to the beginning. You're going to lose the connection with everybody in that business or that organization, and they're going to leave because there's no stability. Everything is chaos. So I need innovation to bring people together, to calm things down so we can all paddle in the same direction. Versus we have become so locked in. That we only have one way of doing things. And we need innovation to break us open because our connections have become chains. We need to break those chains so that we can be who we were made to be.
Yeah. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I love it. Yeah. Because you operate in Africa, Tim. I just thought about something. I'm just thinking, you just opening up my mind, and I'm thinking about these kids who are out there in Africa try to develop. Let's say, for example, this kid has an app, but he wants this app to reach out to the world. A lot of these kids, most of the time, they can, their apps or whatever they're producing cannot actually penetrate the world or the world market, right? And I thought about, how, even though that's totally different because, Toyota is a big company, right? When they started, doing marketing, Americans, they like these big cars. What can we do, right? What can we export to them? So they came out with maybe Lexus or something like that, right?
So this is what we teach at Ubuntu. So this is part of the charity we run there, the Ubuntu Mission. The idea here is to teach. There's 6 things. It's 5 plus 1. And I'm gonna get the 6th one last. I'm gonna start with the first 5. Every healthy business and every organization, churches need these 5 things. Every organization, you need 1, innovation, 2, revenue, 3, finance, 4, legal, and 5, operations. Let me say it again. You need innovation, revenue, finance, legal, operations. You are not creating an app to make money unless you're using and touching all 5 of those things. So your app is the innovation, but the key is great innovation solves a problem that people want solved. So you have one of 2 paths. You can either be the best solution, right? So the luxury brand, the luxury watch, the fancy, it's the best watch. And so you have a problem that a small group of people will pay a lot of money for. And you can make money off that. And an app that does really excellent, that no one can touch. You may not sell to everybody, but everybody who buys it is rich. That's not a bad thing. On the other side of it, I can solve a problem everyone has. I can just do it the best way possible. So my option is either to be the only one or to be the best one amongst everybody. Toilet paper is an example. Everybody needs something. Everybody needs something. And if I can put toilet paper in a market that understands and appreciates it, because not every culture in the world uses toilet paper, There's, especially go to Asia, they have the bucket with the water. That's they go, that's way cleaner. Water is way cleaner than paper, right? It's cultural. So you got to tap into your market, your group. What is it that they want solved? And if there's enough of them that will buy it, that's innovation. Now you have to have revenue. It's not just enough to have something cool. It will sit in your garage. It will sit on your computer. No one will know about it unless you have marketing and sales. So people go to the App Store because it immediately gives them marketing and immediately sets up sales. But again, you're going to have to talk to people out there and get ratings on your app. You're going to have to talk to influencers and get them to talk about your app. Because if no one knows that the app exists, I don't care how good it is. I don't care how great your innovation is. No one will buy it. Which is why there's plenty of apps out there making money, and they aren't the best, but they know how to make revenue, which then leads into finance. What do you do with the money you make? And this is where a lot of businesses struggle. They take the money and they spend it immediately and go, no. If you're going to make a business that lasts, you need to think about how you spend your money. It's not just bookkeeping and addition and subtraction. It's decision making. Do I save this money? Do I invest this money? Do I hire someone to work on sales so I can get more revenue? Do I hire someone to help me create new innovation? Do I buy another company and bring their innovation into mine? And now I don't have to create new innovation. I just bought theirs. A whole host of things, plus taxes, et cetera, right? And then you have legal. And legal is all the requirements that your government's going to have. And we at Ubuntu, we teach legal and moral. But sometimes the law is silent. You still know what the right thing is. So some people give extra money away as part of their business model. They take a portion of the profits and they use it to take care of the poor. They take a portion of their profits and they use it to take care of schools or hospitals or widows or what, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that moral piece comes as part of your legal, but the law says you must have a safe working environment, et cetera, et cetera. And the last is operations. It's all the little things you do to make sure the other promises are being fulfilled. So your operations can be IT, it can be HR, it can be all these other functions, logistics. Now, the beautiful thing about an app is that we have a machinery, a system set up like an Apple store where I can go to Apple. Apple will provide me some sales and marketing. It will give me a foundation for my innovation to sit on. And because it sits on Apple's foundation, I get access to the entire world that uses Apple products. But the finance, Apple's not going to help you make good decisions about your money. They're just going to send you that money. And money's a funny thing, man.
Money's a funny thing. We're going to go to, for us to do the right thing, I think we need to learn a little bit about Ubuntu. We're going to go back to Ubuntu. Okay. Are you familiar with this? With the mineral called, coltan. This mineral is mined in DRC.
Ah, okay. Now you're teaching me. I'm listening.
But what comes back to DRC probably is the phone to sell them the phone.
So the question.
So the question is, the question is, what can? Because I know you operate in Africa, you are even in Ghana. What can these African countries do for them to produce their own products to be able to create value upon value, right?
Yeah. So this is a tough one. This is gonna get deep fast.
Yeah.
The World Monetary Fund did a study on what makes a country's economy successful. And what will make it flourish and grow. And they found the most important factor was the quality of that country's justice system. In other words, a country that has okay resources, but strong sense of justice can do quite well economically, because when you go to a court and you go to the judge, it doesn't matter if you're poor, you're still going to be treated well.
Mm-hmm.
There are no bribes. The
Right.
justice system is just. Flip it. I have all kinds of resources, but I have no justice system. What's going to happen? I'm a poor person. I want to sue a rich person who's abusing my business, who's stealing my ideas, stealing my resources, and I go to court and the rich person pays the bribe. Will you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Mexico as a country has
Mhm.
more resources per person than the United States. Mexico is a rich, resource-wise, rich country, but the corruption in the judicial system and the corruption in the police system has wide open the gates for corruption in the criminal system. And then, of course, the gangs, people don't even want to go do business there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet, wonderful people, rich culture, fantastic resources.
Beautiful people, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Mexico has to come to grips, and this is where I don't have an answer. I just know the question is
Right.
how. I don't know how.
Right.
This is why if we're connected, we help each other.
Right.
Right. But now let's go to Africa. Top to bottom. Is bribery a problem? Is justice even country to country to country? No. And then you have deals like like I saw in Ghana, and it's not just Ghana; it's Mozambique, South Africa, where the Chinese have come in and made deals with the government officials, right? And the Chinese make deals, and they say, "Hey, here's the money. You just let us do our thing. You do your thing," and then the Chinese are making tons of money.
Yeah.
And then like in Ghana, they're like, okay, you've made enough. Leave. They won't leave.
Yeah. No.
Now there's no leverage to get them out, and now they're going. Now there's pollution in the rivers, and the farmers are affected because the water is dirty from the mines up in the mountains, making the water dirty. And now your banana is bad, your cassava is bad. You know what I'm saying? It's a bad thing. Why? Because the justice isn't working the way it's supposed to.
Right. 100%. 100%. I think I agree with that. I mean, like, we can complain all day long about neocolonialism, that China is coming in and taking over, but we have corruption, not only in South Africa, not only in Botswana.
Oh, brother, we got it in the U.S. It just wears a nice.
we got it over. We got it over. But when people say in the government and say, well, cut us a deal, we'll give you a tender. And the problem with the Chinese, when they come, they don't actually hire the local folks.
No.
Right?
No. Yeah. Yeah. But if you had laws that you could enforce.
But if you have laws, right? So.
Yeah.
In one of your posts, because I went to your LinkedIn, you write about pressure, that it is necessary in our journey of life. And you also mentioned Doc Rivers when he said pressure is privilege. Can you unpack that for us, Tim?
So there's a documentary on Netflix, and it's called The Playbook, and it just interviews different famous sport coaches. And one of the coaches, the first episode is Doc Rivers, and he's a coach for he's now the coach in Philadelphia for the basketball team there. And he was talking about how pressure's a privilege. It's an honor to be striving. It's a joy to be in the race, because the alternative is to be out of the race on the sideline watching everyone else. So anyone who knows anything about being competitive, and I was never a famous athlete, ever even close in my dream, but I played enough sport to know that it's fun when you have those good games, and maybe you didn't win and it hurts to not win, but pressure of being in the championship, the pressure of being in the playoffs, the pressure of it's fun. So I read a quote, actually, one of our friends sent the quote to me that I'm going to pull it up. It was from Michael Niddle, our friend Michael.
Michael, yeah.
He said this. I love this. This is so good. This is from Joni Tada. She said, "Once you know that life is difficult, then life is difficult no longer."
Okay.
right?
Yes.
So the
Yeah.
idea that
Mm,
you have to embrace the challenge.
mm,
You want to climb the mountain. Yeah. And then once you understand the challenge is part of getting to the mountaintop, it's just part of getting to the mountaintop. It's a privilege.
it's a privilege. I
Mm,
love it. And how do deep valleys? You sort of kind of touched a little bit,
mm.
about this at the beginning. Uh, Deep valleys in our lives build us to become better people.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's a
Mm,
hard lesson to learn, but
mm,
our biggest growth comes through our toughest times.
mm,
And we can choose to grow or not grow. So when the cancer came back, my children and I decided we would use this to grow and learn no matter how the story ended.
mm,
And my wife was very strong about saying that. She said, listen, whether I live or die, that's not what this is about. What this is about is how we handle it while we walk this journey.
mm,
And that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
mm,
And I'm still walking it. But when we embrace that, when
mm,
we accept it as like it's I you know it's a quote from an old movie, a cowboy movie called Tombstone. But
mm,
there's a scene where one of the characters is dying,
mm,
and he just says there is no normal life. There's just life.
mm,
And we get so wrapped up in our however many decades we get in life on this planet. We
mm,
forget about eternity. And as one friend of mine told me, he says, have you ever been in the military? And I'm like, no, I haven't. I have lots of friends in the military. Well, so good. So you know what boot camp is? I go, yeah, I know what boot camp is. And he goes, boot camp is brutal. And this is a friend of mine who's a veteran. And he was like,
mm,
at boot camp, they're waking you up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go do a 20-mile hike. And you're already tired. At
mm,
boot camp, it is all about disrupting you and breaking you and building you up so that when you finish boot camp, you're ready to be a soldier.
mm,
And he said, too many
mm,
people think their youth is boot camp. And I'm telling you, your entire life is boot camp for eternity. And so this is where my faith comes in. I believe that all the struggle that my children and I have had to walk through,
mm,
because there's something bigger that's coming that we don't see yet. And we embrace the growth mindset that life is a challenge, and it's going to be a challenge for everyone. We're not special. That we know people who've had it worse.
mm,
Why should we complain? And again, attitude drives everything. So gratitude is an attitude, right? You choose to
mhm,
be grateful. The funny thing about gratitude is once you choose to be grateful, you suddenly
mm,
become grateful.
mm,
And we're so caught up in a culture that tells us why we shouldn't be grateful. And I struggle with that.
mm,
Everybody's in survival mode.
mm,
Everybody wants mine. And as soon as we get into that mindset, that's what I learned with my wife's cancer. Whenever I got into survival mode,
mm,
I was not a good person. I was not my best. But if I shifted and chose to serve my way through it, I suddenly
mm,
operated as a different man. And
mm,
that goes back into that pressure as a privilege. If you choose to embrace it and you choose it as an opportunity to grow, not because you're trying to receive some blessing, but because you want to be a blessing. Now you're beginning to live life.
oh, oh,
Now you're beginning to live life because it's not about you, it's about everyone. And now we're back to leadership, right? Ubuntu. I want to raise you up. So how I approach life, how I approach my suffering, it needs to bless you.
mm,
So even my friends in South Africa were blown away. I don't understand the blessing that it was, but they were to watch me spending my time in the hospital with my wife as she passed.
mm,
They're like, Tim, here in South Africa, men don't do that. When their wife gets sick, they don't go to the hospital. It's like, what? It's like, nope, nope. When the wife gets sick, the men just stop going. I'm like, really? Yeah, man.
wow.
You white guy, you're teaching black guys how to live.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
like, what blows my mind, and because I there's color, and then there's no color. There's humanity.
Yeah, I know. There's
But
there's
you
a
know what I'm
point.
saying?
There's a point where you cut through, and you're on the same
Yeah.
level. On the same plane.
Well, yeah, we're equals.
Yeah.
We're not different. That's the whole
Yeah,
thing.
you are, exactly.
And yet I don't want to ignore the difference, because that's part of that rainbow, that tapestry.
Yeah, it has difference. Yeah,
Yeah. So, but when they said that, and these had a couple of my friends said that, Echo and Tansi, and I'll say them both, hey guys, they both were like, Tim, you don't see that in the Black community. I'm going, really? No, man. You're inspiring us. You're inspiring us to be the men we are supposed to be. And I had never intended that cancer would become a blessing to other men. And the way I handled cancer, my wife's journey, I never thought in a million years that would be an inspiration for anyone. But how I carry that stone on my back. And if we all live that way, because Sonny, I know you carry stones, I know Mariah carries stones, I know we all have our stuff. And if we do it in a way that others can see and others can learn and others be inspired, what happens to all of us as a result when we live this way? We rise up. We become more than who we are individually.
Yeah, that's deep, and I can sense the pain, but at the same time I can just see that residue of blessing, that even abounds even to all of us. And do purpose and vision play a role in this?
Yeah. So remember I had said there were 5 things we teach you at Ubuntu plus 1?
Right.
Purpose and vision go in the middle of it. And values. And we say your purpose, who you were made to be, becomes the fuel for what your business is about, because your business should be an extension of who you are, not an imitation of who you're trying to be. A lot of entrepreneurs are trying to become Elon Musk or try to become somebody else. And like, don't be that person. That's them. You be you.
Be you.
Be you. And to be truly honest, I don't know if those people are all as happy as media tells us that they are.
Right.
I mean, my daughter and I were talking the other day. She goes, Dad,
that's so true, though. That's true, though.
Oh my goodness, my daughter and I were talking about, she would like to get a new car, and I said, well, great, let's save up money to get a new car.
Right.
I'll show you how to trade your car in. I'll show you how to. And she's like, well, my friend's parents gave them a brand new car. Okay, is your friend happier than you are?
Right.
No. And so it's let's first say purpose and mission and values and vision and all of the things. Purpose drives a piece that nothing can break. And if you know your purpose, even if you're not, quote, successful with a lot of money, you can be a happy, satisfied individual. Because there are people who do the 5 things, but they don't have purpose. And I will say it this way, some of the loneliest, most broken people I know live in the biggest houses and drive the nicest cars. So purpose is central. And where do you find your purpose? You find it from the one who made you. You start there.
Whew. That's, man, we're digging deep. I wanted to take some time just to talk about the Ubuntu vision, because I think is a beautiful things that you guys are doing in South Africa, and I believe in Ghana as well, right?
Yeah.
How it came about and so forth,
Well, it started with a conversation between a couple of guys I know, Tony and Brian, and Tony is white South African, Brian's an American. And they were in a meeting in South Africa, and Tony was telling Brian, man, I love my country. I'm a big full-on believer in Madiba's vision of a rainbow nation. I want to see South Africa, but I'm also embarrassed by my country. I look at the crime, I look at the corruption, I look at the poverty, the unemployment, because I want to do something. I'm not going to be one of these people who sits and complains all the time about, South Africa, what a problem, because I refuse. Brian came back from that conversation and connected with me and said, hey, Tim, there's an opportunity to do something, but I don't know what. I said, well, let's go together.
Yeah.
Let's go listen. Let's go talk to people. Again, let's go define the problem before we come up with a solution. So we flew together back to South Africa. And we sat down, we just talked to people from the community. We talked to people who were pastors and school leaders and business people and whatnot. And we had a big, it was funny. We were at a spar, it's so funny to go to a spar in South Africa because it's American barbecue, but it's not like American barbecue. And we go in there and we're all sitting around a table talking. And I keep hearing about, we need jobs, we need jobs. And remember, this is the height of the AIDS crisis when we started as well. So there were people dying from AIDS left and right. There was families being ripped apart as they lost moms and dads and uncles and aunties. And you had generations being wiped away. And they kept, we need jobs, we need jobs. Well, I'm like, I don't trust the companies of the world to give South Africa jobs just because the politicians promise it. What you need is work. And there's opportunity for work all over this country. And there's the talent to do great work all over this country. So if we could teach people how to create their own work as an entrepreneur, what could that do? So now am I not only putting food on my table, I'm maybe able to hire 2, 3, 4, 5, 20, 100 other people and put food on their tables. Now we're lifting each other up. So that's how Ubuntu got started. So this idea of teaching entrepreneurship, but then we also wanted to make sure it was faith-based because we know the purpose thing is so central.
Right.
So that started as we created an entrepreneurs boot camp and a mentoring network. And we've done that for 10 years, actually over 10 years. But in the last few years, we've been rotating into creating. We realized that if you really, really want to change the game, you need to teach the kids in high school before they leave, so that they go, look, before you even think about going to university, you need to know how work is created. So that if you go to university, it's to learn what you need to do in order to do the work you're made to do, not go get a job.
Right.
Because we have a bunch of kids going to university and then there's no job for them on the other side. And now they're frustrated and they have all this inside frustration and angst, and you're just creating more stress for the whole nation. So, and not every kid needs to go to school in order to be a great business person.
Right.
I'm a full believer in going to school, go to a trade school, go to university, learn your craft, whatever your craft is. Right. But so that turned into then COVID hit and we had to put the whole thing on brakes. So we have a whole curriculum ready to go. We have a team of people ready to employ to go do schools. What we want to do is run like a club program at the school during the lunch. Kids can learn. We have a board game. They can watch videos. They can learn this stuff, and they have a mentor. At the end of the quarter, there's a competition between schools, and there's a pitch contest between schools. And then the judges are our contacts from government, our contacts from, universities, and our contacts in business. So that even if you don't win the competition, the government people are looking, they have funds to help people start their business. And if you've got a good idea, you can have the funds.
Right.
We've got people universities saying, man, you didn't win the competition, but I want to offer you a scholarship. I want to help you go to school. Business people are like, I want to hire you. I want you to come work for me. Do a learnership or an internship, or even just come work while you go to school or whatever it is you're going to do. We want to create that connection amongst all the parts of our culture and our community together, so that then young people from an early age feel empowered to create work, not waiting to get a job.
Wow, that's powerful. That's really powerful. So you guys are connected with these high schools now, or you?
So we have connections. One of Dr. Tuani Mpie is our national director, and he's retired national Ministry of Education. He was the head of QA for matriculation in South Africa. So we have a tremendous amount of connections through the schools, through him, and through that network. But just COVID shut it down. Nobody was in school. Everybody was at home on an iPad or something,
Right.
tablet.
Right. No, I think that's a big solution, especially in because I know the situation in South Africa is in. I think they need solutions like that. These kids are gonna come out knowing that no, I can create, I can be, I can walk in my purpose and create jobs.
Yeah, one of my favorite people, her name is Anna, and she's down in KwaZulu-Natal, and she's just lovely. And when she came to the Ubuntu program, Anna was like, I don't know why I'm here. I'm coming because my husband came and he made me come, and they came together.
Okay.
But I sat and listened. I asked, Anna, what do you want to do for a business? And she goes, I don't know. I said, oh, well, if you could dream, what would you dream? She goes, I'd love to run a creche. I'd love to run a children's school, a creche, as they say in South Africa. And I go, that's wonderful. Well, the thing is, not only did she learn what she needed to run a creche, she has taught 4 other people how to start their own creches. So she's not hiring people, but she is empowering people.
She is empowering
what she knows here and what she has felt here, and she's sharing that. And now 4 other people have started their creches because she mentored them. And now you're talking not the school system. Now you're talking community, sister to sister, human to human, teaching what you need to know. And then most importantly, having relationship. So when I reach 6 months down the road, 1 year down the road, I finally reach a point. Now I'm ready for the question I didn't ask before. Who do I take my question to? I take it to Anna because she's my mentor. She will help me. Oh, I remember. Yes. And now Anna has an answer. And if Anna doesn't have an answer, she has all of Ubuntu to tap into to say, hey, my sister has a question. Who can help? That is not an education system. That is a community system, right?
Right.
That is how we learn.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Tim, we have crossed an hour mark, and so thank you so much. I want your message of hope.
It's been a delight to be with you, Sonny. I can I just pause and just I want to compliment you. You're living the life in California. And you still care about everyone back home, everyone, everywhere, wherever they're at. And my friend, that's precious. If you want to talk about hope, that's the example. That we serve each other for wherever we're at, whatever way we can. If we serve each other, the world becomes a beautiful place.
Wonderful.